What's up? What's up? Welcome in everyone. How's it going?
Yo, how
Hey
we
Johnny.
doing? How's it going?
What's up people in the chat? Amazing prop. Y'all got Johnny on here. The best out there. Wow. There we go.
We got some stream supporters.
How's it going, guys? How did everyone do today? Red or green? Let's hear it. Good morning, good morning. If it's still morning for you. How's it going, Johnny?
Good, doing okay today. As you can see, the market was a little barcodey this morning, but we finally broke out of that, and I'm holding on to a decent move right now. Let's see.
Nice. Let's see your
Anything
trade.
can happen. Yeah, let's check it out. So yeah, essentially I had all these levels marked out, and we're going to talk about, if everybody doesn't know, we're going to talk about using AI to improve your trading. So the levels I got today were based on higher time frame levels, and also I had AI analyze some data for me to get these levels. But one of the things I wanted to show everybody is, you know, when you're using order flow, there's a lot of information coming at you. So if I switch here to this view, you can see like I'm always monitoring order flow from a footprint chart, and basically what I'm looking for are levels that where we get absorption, either aggressive buying, aggressive selling, and then we see that we have passive sellers up here or passive buyers on the downside, followed with aggressive buying or selling. And if you don't understand all the ins and outs of order flow, offline, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to explain it to you. But I guess where I was going with this is we see all these levels happening throughout the day. And this is one of the ways I use AI, is because there's no way that we can digest all these different levels and aggregate levels. And so that's one of the things that is most useful for me when I'm looking to utilize AI. It's essentially analyzing large data sets. But happy to get into that after we, I guess, get through this kind of intro. Oh, I think you're muted, Raj.
Oh, there we go.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there. I'm excited to get that going.
Absolutely. I'm happy to get going whenever you're ready, or if you want to do an intro or anything like that, feel free.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and bring up, I just put together a little slideshow, believe it or not, with AI.
Nice.
So, one of the most useful things I think with AI, for you as a trader, is that it can save you time. Because us as traders, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I can always spend an infinite amount of time on my computer looking at charts, improving my trading. And as you can guess, that doesn't go well with your significant others if you don't cut out time for them. So when I was making this slideshow last night, I was actually making it. I basically, what I did was took notes and then fed it to AI and had it spit this out. And I was able to do that while I was hanging out with my girlfriend. So that's a plus. So it can save you some time. I'm going to quickly go through some of these, reasons why. Essentially, the way I look at trading is you're competing against everybody else. You're not competing against the big boys. You're competing against retail traders. And our goal is to have more information and to get better at execution and to refine our strategy so that we are ahead of the curve. And really what this is about is doing the work that other people won't do. So if you can find something that can work more efficiently than you and make better use of your time, you're already getting ahead of the curve. So really what this is about is being able to, and for me, and this, I'm only covering a few of the kind of areas where AI can help you, but process complex data. So if you have a large amount of data and you have a spreadsheet full of thousands of lines, that's one of the ways you can utilize AI that's going to help you save time. and also give you really good observations from that data. Spot where institutions interact with the price and liquidity. Specifically, I'm talking about order flow here. So if you are digging deep behind what's going on just behind price action and you're looking at order flow, what that's doing is it's kind of pulling the curtain back so that you can see where large participants are interacting with the market. And that in itself should give you an edge because other people aren't looking at the data in this way. So also, supporting rule-based decisions instead of impulse. Essentially, this is about defining your rules, helping AI or AI helping you follow your rules. So I was talking to Raj earlier. He does probably pre-market sessions, post-market sessions with it to make sure that he's staying aligned with his plan. That's a way that you can use this that would benefit you on a daily basis. And then the last point I have on here that I wanted to cover was iterate on your strategy faster with clearer feedback. What this is about, and I have some examples of this, is if you have a strategy and you're curious about, well, how can I optimize this? AI is a really good way to do that, but there's some caveats. So I'll go over that in some future slides. So here's some examples of some prompts. And this is, some examples if you're using levels or order flow. So I'm attaching a spreadsheet with the volumetric footprint data from today. I want you to analyze all the volume and identify the best levels based on aggressive buying and selling, delta volume versus price movement and output, the highest priority levels for trading tomorrow. And what this is really going over is kind of like how you can speak to AI in a normal sort of conversational way. And obviously, you have to filter in what's coming out of AI so that you get exactly what you want. But really what this is about is opening up, sort of the dialogue of the curiosity that you have about what's going on that's deeper that maybe I can't see, or I have this set of data that I want to give you and I want you to make observations about it so that I can make it usable. If you have thousands of lines of spreadsheet data that happen just throughout today, for instance, is there a way that you can use that information to help you take better trades tomorrow or stay out of trades? For instance, that's really key. And then, this last one I have here, I want if-then narratives and biases based on these levels and potential trade setups. So essentially what that is I like having sort of a map, and I call it a battle map, for the day, where if we break below this level, there's a high probability that we're going to start liquidating and go for lower levels. And I actually have an example here. Let me show you real quick. So here, this sheet is spit out every morning, and essentially what I did was I feed it order flow levels. So everything that you see right here, let me put on this footprint chart, is being recorded, as automatically. And I'll go through the process of how I did this, but every single price and volume level is being recorded. You can see my trade is coming down right now. That's okay. But every level is being recorded, every price, every bid and ask volume, and then these levels as well, volume, delta bar, and delta percentage, cumulative volume delta is being recorded. And at the end of the day, I feed it to AI. And then what happens after that is I get this sheet, and it knows me really well. So it knows what I'm looking for. What it does is it will cover the price action for that day. And I like having that because I can double check and make sure it's pulling the right levels, making sure it's accurate. And that's one of the caveats of using AI is you have to make sure it's accurate, or else it's going to give you bad data. If you give it bad data, it's going to give you bad data out. And if you rely solely on AI, it will potentially hallucinate and give you crap data. So you got to be careful about that. But here's kind of the bread and butter here. Risk map, where you're wrong, bull invalidation, sustained trade and close below 25,618, bear invalidation, acceptance above 20. So this essentially tells me, okay, well, if I have a trade set up at these levels and it starts failing, we could see, lower prices from this bull invalidation or higher prices from this bear invalidation. I also have it spit out 3 trade setups, that are high probability according to the data. In any case, this is an example of how I use AI with these levels based on this kind of scenario right here. Like I want to essentially feed it all the data from the day and then be prepared for tomorrow. So let's move on to the next example. Does this strategy work best with break even after plus 15 points or a trailing stop of 15 points? Can you analyze the price data and tell me what the most optimal stop loss is if I'm looking to maximize net profit and minimize drawdown? So these are some examples of questions that you might have about your strategy. You know, you're always trying to figure out, you know, where for this strategy, where does it make sense to put in a break even? Where does it make sense to put in a trailing stop? Or where does my stop loss placement give me the most profit? And these are the kind of questions that are natural as a trader, but we don't always know how to figure that out. And if you don't want to crunch through thousands of lines of spreadsheet data, an easy way you can do that is feed it all of the candlestick data. And when I say easy, there's a process to it, and it does take time, and I'll get into that later. But you know, expect this to be a lot of work with a big payoff. But an example of this would be right now I'm working with a buddy of mine to create an automated strategy, and I'm going to show you the results that we got without using anything essentially for a break even. So let me zoom in here. So it's let's see. Yeah, we got 16K is what the net profit is. It's got a 54% win rate. Now look, if we add a break even at plus 20 points, the results are 63,000 per year. And this is using 2 micro contracts. The win rate is still around 54%, but we're getting break even a lot. So that is optimizing for losses that go above our break even point. Now, you know, you have it test a few different strategies, a few different break evens, and we see that at 17 points, if you put a break even there, you get a net profit of 80,000 per year. So on and so forth. Break even at 15 points gets you 93,000. You increase the take profit to 200 ticks, break even plus 15 points, trail at 30 points, and the trail behind is 7 points. Now your total net profit is 144,000. I don't want to go too deep into this, but what I wanted to show everybody is that you can take a strategy like this and you can really start optimizing it. And the way you optimize it is by giving it, you have to give it all the, you know, tick data or minute data or 5-minute data so that it has all the data that it would need so that it can run these hypothetical scenarios. But running it through AI is a lot less labor intensive once you have the process down, so that you can start really digging into your strategy, what can improve it in small increments that makes a large impact over the course of the year. I mean, you can see just using this AI on this strategy brought it from 16,000 annually to 144 net profit, you know, after adding all these things and experimenting with AI. And I would encourage everybody to get curious. And I'll tell you this much, AI, if you're asking people to do this research, AI is a lot more pleasant to deal with because it will never say no. You can ask it some outrageous thing and say, hey, can we do this? And it will most likely try and figure out a way to do it. Whether it's going to be accurate or not, you're going to have to double check it. But it will not say no to you. So get curious about your strategy and how you might be able to improve. Let me go back to the slides.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which platform are you using that gives you enough info to feed it to AI?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a couple of different suggestions. One, so Claude happens to be the best in my opinion that I've used for coding. Like if you have a coding project, you want to use Claude. Grok, if you want quick answers, and Grok is improving dramatically over time, and it's iterating with improvements faster than any other AI platform right now. ChatGPT is great because you can have projects, and within those projects, you can save files, and then, you know, basically just have ChatGPT keep track of what you want in those project files. So I have a project file for this sheet right here, and in that sheet, I have instructions that says, this is exactly the way I want this formatted. This is how I want you to be reading these levels. This is what I want you to be looking out for. So it's good for essentially keeping that memory in its bank so it can get to know you and what you like, especially if you're looking at doing it per project. But for people looking for more use and not a lot of limitations, DeepSeek is a good one as well. And then also, what's the one? There's another one that's based on basically search engines, so it's all real-time data. Perplexity is good if you're looking for like real-time information on the news, because its AI engine was strictly made for searching the web. Gemini is also, which is Google Gemini, is also really good. But what I'm using for most of my trading work is ChatGPT, because it seems to have, and by the way, I've done this for a while with ChatGPT, and it's improved tremendously. And the quality of information that you get out of it, a lot of it depends on how you interact with it and how you ensure that it's giving you accurate information. And in the best practices later on, I kind of tap into that you really can't rely on ChatGPT alone. You have to be feeding it the correct data. Does that answer your question, Raj?
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a follow-up question here from Isis.
Yep.
He says, when opting in to use AI, did you use a few engines? Which engine gave the best data summary? So pretty much ChatGPT, in your opinion?
Yeah. So ChatGPT, also, I really like Claude. So I would experiment if you're specifically for trading. I would experiment with ChatGPT and Claude. Yeah. And again, I'll go over kind of what I do to make sure ChatGPT knows me, and that's a big part of it. Is you want to use AI in a way that's a little more involved than what you would be using it for to search, like for a Google. Like if you're using AI just as you would a search engine like Google, there's some things that you can do to optimize the information you're getting out of it. And so I'll kind of go over some of those best practices here in a little bit. The third example I wanted to give was, for news and macroeconomics. As traders, we've got so many things that we have to keep on a routine, that simplifying it makes your life easier. If you're not having to go to this place or this place or this place to get your, all your information and to get ready for your day. And, just to touch on the futures desk, that's one of the reasons I love the futures desk, the platform, is because you have everything, including news, there, at the beginning of your day that helps you prep for your day. It's a check-in, it's a journal, it's a trade tracker, and you can get your red folder news from there. In addition to that, I like having, basically a quick conversation in the morning with ChatGPT about what's upcoming news. What do I have to worry about today? What are some earnings that could impact NASDAQ price action today and in the week, so I'm ready for it? So having these things and preparing it to be ready to gather these things, significant earnings schedules, red folder news, and high impactful or other impactful events, is good. And you want it to be prepared to give you those on a daily or weekly basis. So it essentially makes it easy for you when you're gathering your strategy notes, when you're gathering your, my battle map. It's already just ready to give me any sort of news. So best practices for AI, and guys, I just wanted to share this. I didn't want this to get too nitty gritty into the technicals of using AI, but like I said, if you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to share what I know about using it. And I've used it for a while for optimizing my trading, giving me potential trade setups, and then just giving me more information on a daily basis. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share what I know. I just didn't want to bog down this interview with a bunch of, digging in super deep. But Best practices, you have to provide the data. So what that means, so when I was first using AI, I would say, hey, go, look at price action on NQ for today and give me some significant levels. And after using it for a good amount of time, trying to test its capabilities, I realized that it's not going to give you accurate data. And so the best thing you can do is make sure that like, if you have control over a certain portion of the interaction with the AI, make sure that you're giving it as much as you can to go off of. So when I'm talking about data, what I'm talking about is either downloading tick data or downloading order flow data or whatever data that is actually verifiable and objective so that it has a good baseline to start. It's kind of like when you're a photographer, you don't want to take a crappy photo and try and make it look good in post-production. The result that you're going to get is always going to be better if you start with something quality. So I feel the same way about feeding AI and getting responses from AI. Give it the best data you can. Also, another best practice is streamline repetitive tasks. So if you're here, I'll give you an example of this. So when I first started feeding order flow data to ChatGPT, it was a lot of manual downloading, and then sorting through that data, then giving that data to ChatGPT. And then I have to download that sheet as well. So an example of streamlining like a repetitive task was that the downloading of that data, picking the date, so on and so forth. So what I did was I used AI to write a script in NinjaTrader. And if you're not familiar with programming, essentially what that script is doing is it's automating part of this task. So what it's doing is sitting in the background of my platform, and every day it'll automatically download that data. It'll put it in the year folder, put it in the month folder, and then it will put it in the date folder, and then it will name that data, so that when I ask ChatGPT to look it over, it's super easy. And that's one less step I have to worry about. Another example of streamlining repetitive tasks would be like if every morning you're trying to prompt AI to do a very specific thing, set that up to where it's a prompt either that you can copy and paste, or with ChatGPT, you can actually put it on a schedule. So you could say every morning at 6:30 a.m., I want you to reach out and give me any significant news events for the day. That would be an example of streamlining repetitive tasks. Anything that you're doing on a repeated basis, if it has to do with your computer, most likely you can find a way that you can streamline that process and get it off your plate. So the next thing is personalize your AI and use its memory. This is kind of what I was talking about before. Make sure that your AI understands what your strategy is, what you're looking for in trades, what your long-term goals are. Give it as much information about yourself as possible. And I know that's probably against a lot of people, what people are comfortable with sharing. I really don't care. I want this thing to be an effective, sidekick for me. Essentially, like I look at it as like I got a little employee that works for free. And so I want to put as much on its plate as possible to take it off of my plate. So personalize your AI and use its memory, and make sure it understands. Like there's so many times that AI will give me an inconsistent response. And I'm like, that's not what I want. I've told you before, I want this. I want it this way. So you have to make sure it commits it to memory, and you have to specifically say, remember that I want it this way in the future. The next one is check for accuracy at every step. So this one's really important. If you have some sort of process where you're building, for instance, like a sheet that you want, like a summary sheet for your trading every day, you want to make sure that at every step, especially when you're building out the process, at every step, it's doing things in the right way so that it's giving you accurate information. You don't want it to go through a 10-minute process of building a sheet, looking at levels, and then realize that it's not doing the right thing. You want to get that process dialed in, and then you want to check it every step of the way so that at the end, you're not like, well, it could have gone wrong here. It could have gone wrong here. It could have gone wrong here. You want to make sure you're doing accuracy checks every step of the way, or else you're going to waste a lot of time. Know the capabilities, use multi-step and agent workflows. What I'm talking about here is there are some tasks in AI that are best done through like ChatGPT agent, for instance, if it's a multi-step process, and let's say it's like you want to take data from this spreadsheet, you want to create a new spreadsheet with multiple tabs in it. Um, that maybe it's a time consuming task with like 4 steps in it. Hand that off to ChatGPT agent, because ChatGPT agent is really good, and ChatGPT in general right now is actually pretty decent at handling multi-step processes, but agent is really good at like set it and forget it. Hey, here's my objective, this is what I want you to do, and now I'll leave you alone for 30 minutes or 15 minutes, and I'll come back and it's done, and then I can give you feedback and have you work on it. So this is actually really good also for if like you want stuff being done in the background and maybe you're doing other things and you kind of want this doing its own thing. And then you can check in after 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and be like, okay, that looks good. Now let's move on to, whatever the next thing is. So know the capabilities, understand what the limitations are as well. Know what it's going to be good for. For instance, Claude for me is really good at designing HTML, like websites. Claude is really good at doing coding. Grok is going to be good for if you want to create images or something like that don't worry about the like copyright infringement or something like that. Whereas ChatGPT might be an all-around good data analyst that you use on an everyday basis. Strategize with the AI before you task it. And what this is about is making sure before you head down, before you give it some tasks, this big long task, that you actually, talk with it first about what the best way to approach it is before you send it on this big, long, task list, and then realize, well, that's not the direction I want to go. Make sure you strategize with it and say, hey, before you start doing anything, let's talk about how we're going to execute this one step at a time. And that will really save you a lot of time. And it'll make sure that each step of the way you're not saying, hey, this step is incorrect, or you did this wrong at the middle part of this, or whatever. It's essentially making sure that you have a game plan before going into the execution of it. Before I move on, I want to make sure we don't have any questions so far. We good?
Yeah, we had a question about which ChatGPT plan you pay for.
I do Plus, which is $20 a month. And I'll be honest, I don't have any sort of limitations that I hit where I'm like, I need to upgrade. I haven't yet, but I have used the pro plan or whatever it is, and I think it's overkill for most people. So I think the free plan is probably a little under, because you'll hit usage limitations, but the Plus plan I think is good for everything I'm talking about.
Perfect. Yep. That's the one I use.
Cool.
We have another question. What did you do before trading?
I was in hospitality. So I owned a nightclub and restaurant. And prior to that, I was, running nightclubs. And prior to that, I was in sales. I've done a number of different things, but probably the main sort of highlights in my professional career were I did tech sales. I did executive compensation consulting, and then I moved on to hospitality. So I was really, really excited about hospitality in Denver, and we had COVID shut down. After COVID, I opened a restaurant and a hospitality venue with one of my best friends. And we had a little bit of a falling out with our third partner and financier. So after that, I went full-time trading, and I haven't looked back since. And tell you what, it's a lot better to be in my pajamas at home streaming with my fellow traders, and home with my animals, and not managing kids.
For sure.
Yeah.
A lot of people are asking if we can get into how you use the actual data.
Yep. Absolutely.
We'll get into that. Also, people are asking for a part 2. If you're interested next Wednesday, we could also do that.
Yeah, I'd definitely be down. If people want to nerd out and get into the nitty gritty, I'm happy to do that.
Cool.
Okay. So any other questions?
I think that's it for now, but keep the questions coming, guys. We're going to get to them.
Yeah, keep them coming. Always get the full code or strategy. Yeah, always get the full code or full logic. This is just a little kind of pro tip. If you're coding with AI, one of the things you'll notice that it does right off the bat that can cause some hiccups, especially if you're not familiar with code, is it will, if you ask it for a correction on the code, it'll give you a little snippet of code to then copy and paste into the code. One of the time savers for me is, instead of me going back and forth and retesting it, I just, after every prompt that I give it, if we're coding, I say, give me the full code, so that I'm not having to find where I need to cut out this piece and put it into this piece. Because if you do that incorrectly, it'll throw an error, and then you have it fix the error. And the only error was maybe you erased something in the code, or you put it in the wrong spot. So that's just a little pro tip. Always ask it, like if you're asking it to code something, say, in the future, if we're iterating on this, give me the full code. Don't give me the little snippet to correct it. And then make it communicate the way you want. This is a big thing as well, because if you're communicating with AI on a regular basis, you want it to communicate with you the way you want it to communicate. So if it's throwing jokes out there, or it's long-winded, you could say, hey, give me the meat and potatoes. All I care about is the meat and potatoes. You don't have to make small talk with me, because a lot of conversations with AI are casual, and they try and be entertaining in it. And so I would just say, commit that to memory for the AI. This is the way I want you to communicate. However it is you want to, you can make it call you sir every time. If you like that, then do it. So let it get to know you. I kind of talked about this before. Explain your strategy, explain everything you can. If we're talking about trading in general, or strictly trading with AI and it being useful, give it all the information you possibly can, so that as you're feeding it more data, it's actually proactively looking for things that are going to be valuable for you. And then you can use it for, things like journaling, for instance. AI is actually a really good tool to use for journaling. It's not a replacement for you journaling yourself and you looking over, the things that are important to you personally, because that ingrains it in your brain and allows you to put forward use to the thoughts you're having and the reactions you're getting. But us as traders, a lot of times it can be a lonely game. I do not talk to my girlfriend about trading because she doesn't care. And the friends, like my friends that live here, in Colorado with me, they're not traders. They don't understand, the people on my stream. They're the only people, to be honest, that I talk to about trading. And it can be a lonely game. So one of the beautiful things about AI is it's going to, respond to whatever you give it. So if you start talking to it about yourself, about trading, what your long-term goals are, it can give you some feedback that can be helpful. And while it's never going to be intrusive enough to correct your activities, if you ask it, if you say, I want you to give me feedback that, where if I upload my trades, you can give me some feedback on it that might not be easy for me to hear, but I want to know it. You can do that sort of thing. So this last suggestion is really about try and think about how you can use AI in a way that other people aren't using it to improve your trading, because other people, the baseline for traders are doing the bare necessities for trading. They're hopping on the chart. Maybe they have a couple levels picked out, and they're going nuts on it. And so think about it from that perspective. A lot of people liken trading to surfing, and I think that's a really good analogy. You're trying to catch the wave when you're surfing, and it's all about having more information, having more information so that you can see the wave coming. And I think about it like this. You think about whales and the little fish that have suction cups that suck to the whale, and they are able to survive because they're protected by the whale and they receive all the scraps from the whale. That's how I look at us as traders. And the only way you can do that is by being in tune with the market. And whatever way that you do that, holding on to that whale, knowing where they're present. And the way you do that really is by having an edge, putting more effort into finding out more information. And the more you dig, the more information you're going to get. So use AI in a way that it's going to improve your knowledge and your strategy as a trader that other people aren't willing to do. And this is just like, think of AI as a sidekick. Think of it like feed it all the data and have it do the work that maybe you don't want to do, but is extremely valuable, or that's tedious to do. And, really what this allows you to do is iteratively improve on your strategy, on your execution, on your planning, on your levels, every day. And if you're using something like AI, I think it makes it really easy to do it consistently, because you got something helping you out that's keeping you potentially accountable if you have a schedule with it. So that's kind of all I had on just AI in general today. But like I said, I am happy to go over more stuff in detail.
Wow, I think there's a lot to unpack there, and I think we can be here for like an hour.
I know.
But,
That's why I
yeah,
didn't
it's
want to
really
get technical with it, because I know we could sit here, and I would honestly be happy to sit here for hours and
yeah,
show everybody what I do. But maybe that'll be for next time.
yeah. Let's have a part 2 for sure. It's really interesting the way you're doing the tick data upload.
Mhm.
I haven't thought about that. Does it struggle with the amount of data? Like, is the file ever too big?
No, so
Okay.
because I'm doing it one day at a time,
Okay.
it's not, but it will struggle. So when we were doing the back testing, I had a year's worth of 1 minute candlestick data, and that was quite a bit. So it would get hung up on that every once in a while. Sometimes you have to do it in chunks. Like if you're doing 1 minute candlestick data, for instance, you might have to break it up into quarters. But on a daily basis, it does not struggle with it.
Okay.
Yep.
So basically, to summarize, you're feeding it all this tick data, and then what are you asking it to do? Like come up with key levels, or?
Yeah. So essentially, I'm asking it to come up with key levels and then scenarios, kind of like a
Mhm.
scenario based map, if this, then that.
Yes.
And then what I'm also asking it to do is, so once it has the levels, there are two different outputs. One output is the levels for the following day. I'll do that the morning of that day, and then it will review. So let me try and simplify this. So I have it output the levels. It'll look at price action from yesterday. If I'm doing it this morning, it'll look at price action from yesterday. It'll look at order flow from yesterday, and then it'll create the level sheet.
Okay.
And then after it has the level sheet, then it'll on that same level sheet, it'll come up with the potential trade setups, and then the if then map. If we drop below here, look for hard drop, only look for shorts. If we're above here, only look for longs. Kind of basically that's a summary of it. And then the other function I have is that it will, at the end of the day, I'll have it review the performance.
Mhm.
So look at the levels, and then grade yourself, based on the levels that you gave me on how price reacted at these levels. Did the setups work? And then I have essentially, like, I call that evaluator mode. So I have analyst mode and evaluator mode.
Mhm.
Evaluator mode is essentially the teacher grading the test, and it
Interesting.
will grade it and then make adjustments moving forward based on how it performed. So for instance, if it was looking at a level as if it was going to be a liquidity sweep, for instance, but it didn't sweep,
Mhm.
next time it might discount that same level, right? And if it didn't have a price reaction. So that's the next function. And there's actually one more function that I have out of it, and that is that it creates a ongoing levels sheet that will keep track of all the important levels. And then if one level, say for instance, gets mitigated or is no longer important, it'll take that off and then only
Mhm.
carry forward the important levels.
Interesting. And is the logic for the levels prompted, or it figures that out on its own?
Yeah. So I in a strategy session before doing this, I talked a
Yeah.
lot about what I wanted out of
Mhm.
the like if it was reading price action or if it was reading order flow. So for instance, an example would be, I want you to look at the New York session, and I want you to find the top 6 levels where we had aggressive buying or aggressive selling happen, where you saw absorption,
Mhm.
where there was not an accurate representation of the volume coming through in price, and then mark those levels out. and then it'll carry through, those bid and ask levels, and then it'll make sure that they're still valid throughout the day.
Okay.
If that makes sense, or
Yeah, that
untested
makes
throughout the
sense.
day. Yeah.
Interesting.
And just like if you're looking at a regular chart and you're marking those levels and you're looking at the volume profile, for instance,
Mhm.
that's what the volume profile is doing. It's looking at where 68% of all the volume was transacted, and that gives you your value area. And then it looks at the point of control, and that gives you the highest level of volume, period. But what I'm asking ChatGPT to do is, here, let me share my screen right here. For instance, one of the things I do is, like, I might look at this consolidation area and I will put a fixed profile on it, but this is actually a delta profile. So it's not a regular volume profile. So this is showing me aggressive buyers versus aggressive sellers. So when you see a line like this, that's showing you that we had a passive seller up here potentially absorbing these large buys. What AI is doing is essentially taking a huge version of this that's more detailed, that can understand when, let's say, a candle flips on delta and goes, to positive 25% or something like that. Something that I would see in the moment and say that's significant, but it's comparing it to all the other delta levels of every single candle throughout the day. So it's picking out the most significant ones where we can see there was a really strong reaction here. So that's another example. It's looking at cumulative volume delta as well, and it's looking at delta per bar, so that you can essentially, what you see in that moment, you might forget. And so this is helping me, like, essentially analyze deeper and then remember all the important activities that happen from a volume and aggressive buying and selling and levels perspective. Did that answer the question? I think that was a little long-winded, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay.
And are you always using text chat, or do you use voice chat too sometimes?
Oh, that's actually a really good point, because one of the big time savers, if you're talking to AI a lot, is either use the voice mode or use the it'll do voice to
Dictation?
text.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when I'm trying to type all this out, like, if you're typing out paragraphs of this thing, it's going to take you a long time, but you could just sit there and spout off what you're looking for in natural language, and
Mhm.
that is going to save you so much time from typing. And it doesn't matter if you're like, I want this, I want that. It will translate it and it'll get it. So that's a really good point. It's a big time saver.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I find the voice mode is sometimes good for if you're doing like a debrief or something. You're
Yeah.
just kind of having a chat with like a normal person.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
You could kind of go down like different avenues. There's a tool someone made on X that I was looking at. You know how if you branch off in a conversation, it's kind of hard to go back because
Yes.
the context will kind of get diluted. Someone
Yep.
built a tool that you can essentially have like different nodes, and you can go back to that previous node.
I love that. Uh,
Yeah.
I love that. It's interesting. This is way off topic, but I was just, at night sometimes when I'm sitting there watching a TV show with my girlfriend or something, my brain starts going off in different directions because
Hmm.
it just does. But I was thinking about how it would be really neat to have some sort of app. Let's say it was a lifestyle, like a life journaling app, but exactly what you were talking about, the nodes, where you had all the important things that were topics that you cared about. Let's say, like, one is like, Lacey Coda Mars, which is like, my family. I have one that's trading. I have one that's, side hustles, so on and so forth, where you can look at these branching different conversations, and on a daily basis, like, that's your home screen, and you click into one and now you can focus on that one thing.
Mm.
But anyway, it just sparked my memory about that. But yeah, I think that's really a really good point, that a lot of times you'll have to move backwards when you're talking to AI, and it'll move forward so quick that you have to slow it down.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think a lot of people try to do that, what you described with just like regular Notion files. I know I have done that, created a Notion file to track a bunch of stuff, but I don't know. I feel like life these days is so fast moving that stuff just gets lost. And maybe some people are better at keeping track of notes like that, but I feel like AI is a little bit easier because it's like it feels alive, even though it's artificial.
Yeah. And that's one of the things also is that if you have really important notes that you want to be ongoing, um, mess around with ChatGPT and creating a project. Like create a trading project and then put all the files that you want it to remember in there. And that way, every time you want it to refer to a file or data, it can do that. And also in that project, there's an option to where you write essentially how you want it, what do you want it to remember for the project? So for instance, in my project, I have, this is exactly how I want you to spit out this information. I want you to remember this, 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 and this, and it will be project based to where like every time it interacts with you, it's not forgetting how you want things organized.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've used memory before, but I've run into some problems. Maybe it's because it was a programming project, but do you ever notice it forgets the previous like memory from maybe a while ago?
Yeah, when it does, I cuss at it, and it reminds me of that movie. Have you seen Whiplash?
Oh no, I haven't.
Oh man, the drum teacher is like abuses this kid because he's off time, and it reminds me. It's
Oh,
funny.
okay.
I feel like that guy abusing my AI bot.
Yeah,
Because I'm like I'm cussing at it, saying, "Why did you forget this? You know, whatever. I
that's
don't
so
want you to
interesting.
ever
There
be
was
able."
a study recently that said if you curse at it, it actually performs better.
Probably like humans. That's funny. That's
That's
hilarious.
hilarious.
I don't doubt it because it's probably trying to understand why you're upset and make sure that it doesn't do that again. If you
hmm
look at how it's thinking, it will often refer to the user was upset, so I have to make sure I don't do this. Like if you're looking behind the
Interesting.
scenes. Yeah. So cuss it your AI bot.
I don't know. I'm scared to do that because who knows what's going to happen later. It's not going to
100%.
forget that.
100%. I totally get that. I, for the most part, I'm pretty polite to my AI companions, but
hmm
every once in a while, it'll send me on tilt if it forgets something important that I told it to remember. But what I have noticed is that you'll get really good results if you put that what you want to remember in a project in those notes.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Also, something I've taken away from the programming crowd that uses AI for programming, you can create a file with the important things that you want and also just constantly reference that file.
Yep. Yep. You can, yeah. So if you have that, exactly. So if you have that file in your project folder,
hmm
just keep it in there and say, every time we chat, I want you to reference this
Yeah.
before you give a response. I know some people were asking how I use the levels. So I wanted to make sure I
Yep.
covered that. So let me pull this up real quick. Let's see. Let me first go over. I was kind of rushing through it. I didn't want to get in the weeds with this thing, but let me kind of go over what this is doing. So here's going over the narrative for yesterday, and usually this is like a sanity check for me to make sure that it's pulling the right levels, using the right time frames. So like one example of like one of the ways this can start failing throughout the whole thing is that when I pull my order flow levels, it'll pull from a specific time zone. And then I have to convert that before this reads it, but it does it automatically. And then when I am comparing it to the tick data, for it'll sometimes get the time zone mixed up. So the time zone could get mixed up, and so I want to make sure that it's pulling it correctly here. And if it pulls it correctly here, I have the confidence that it knows exactly what happened yesterday and the rest of the levels will be accurate. So here it's going through a bunch of different levels that could potentially be important. This kind of summarizes it here, key structural levels. So these are levels. I don't mark all of these, but these are based off of occurrences that happened yesterday. And then through these levels, it's picking the very best ones to summarize it here and down here. So let's skip down. Basically, think about all this that I'm pulling out of the data is potential levels, and then it really narrows it down here. Risk map where you are wrong. So for instance, bull invalidation, sustained trade and close below 25,618. So that was a level I was watching today. And you can see this is a big pivot point. And so while I won't say, and below here, I was looking for shorts, but you can see down here was another level. Let's see. Extreme pivot, 25,560. Loss opens door to deeper liquidation. So let's come down here to 560, and you can see we pivoted right here at 560. So if we had closed below and continued below, I would most likely, and you guys can see this, right? Yep. I would most likely just be looking for shorts under here. So we had a level at 618, right? That was saying this could signal for bearish price action. We did get a move down, but then we bounced at this other level that was called out down here that said, hey, if we break below and hold below 560, look for a really like a much deeper move than what we got. And so that's one of the ways I use it. I use it for levels, for pivots. And a lot of times, if let's say it forms a setup here that's long, just like any level, you got to watch the level. There's a lot of discretion that happens in trading, and this helps you determine where your discretion should kick in action, if that makes sense. So let's look at the
real quick on your trade. Are you planning to flip short if it goes beyond that?
Flip short here? Oh, well, down here.
You're only long 7, but your stop is for 14.
Right. So if I had 14, I think I took profit off of that. So I think I just need to adjust this.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So let me put this down here. If we are, so these gameplay scenarios and this risk map are really good for just helping you navigate if then type of scenarios. Let's look at the actual playbook setups. So this gave me a setup at 620 to 625 with a stop below 615. And let's see, 620. This would have been right here, right? So I will take its the setup on these, or I will consider the setup the first time it hits it, typically. And then after that, if we have some sort of reversal, then I might consider it again. But right here, let's see, it gave me a 620 with a stop below 615. Pretty sure that got just instantly stopped out right here. But that tells me that this level could be good for a bounce. And it was, let's see, yesterday it had 2 out of 2 wins. Target was 680. So you can see it hit that level. No, just short of that level. So just short of that level right here. The other one was back and forth. This was kind of a range type of situation between 618 and 728. You can see that might be playing out here for ranging. So this 618 was oh, sorry, we're up here. The 620, yeah, so that one got stopped out. This entry 745, that would be a reversal from up here. We haven't hit that level yet. And then down here, a continuation long from 695 to 705. So yeah, we haven't hit that as well. So up here. So the only trade that would have been valid just yet would be this one. It got stopped out, but I'm still looking at this level 620 to 625 because we also have 618 listed right here, and we have 618 listed right here. So you can see that 618 was a really big level for me today. And so once we dipped below and then reclaimed that 618, I was looking for longs. That's essentially what this trade is right here. But so the way I use it, yes, potential trade setups, but I would say the most use that I get out of it is looking at these levels that are important, that have proven to be important. So like if we go back to yesterday's price action, you'll see that levels, will tend to carry over. And Raj, I know you carry over your volume profile levels. This is kind of similar to that. So let's look right here, 618, this is a key inflection point right here, right? So we had a lot of volume rejection up here, and then we had a push higher. You can see we had sells, these big bubbles right here, by the way, if you don't know, sorry, let me pull this over. These big bubbles right here, these are essentially where sellers tried to take control here and got absorbed. So this and right above here was a really key level for yesterday. So to summarize, the way I use the information that it gives me a lot of times is it does create a map for me to at least be aware of, like, hey, if I'm trying to go long here and it starts breaking through, I better chill. I better cool off and then wait. If we break above it, maybe then I can get long again. Or once we reach this level, I might use that as a take profit, because it had a liquidity sweep up here at 25,740. So if we get up to that 25,740, I might be looking at for a take profit and then potentially closing out the trade. Hope that answers the question, guys, but feel free to dig in deeper if you want.
Yeah, I think we definitely need part 2. There's a lot to dive deep into. A lot of people are asking how the data export process works. Could you maybe show a little bit about that?
Yeah. I'd be happy to. So the data export process, normally if you're doing it just kind of manually, let me pull up what I do here for NinjaTrader.
Yep. Someone is asking, how could they do it for Rithmic?
For Rithmic, I used to trade Rithmic accounts, and so I'm not super familiar with the way the export goes on Rithmic. I'll show you how it works here, and I'm sure you can do something similar with Rithmic because Rithmic has all the data. Let's see, export. So the way I do it is I look at historical data. And this is for price data. If I'm looking at price data, I will essentially go to download, select the instrument. So if we're going MNQ December, then I'll do start date, end date, and this will give me as many sheets as I want, like as many days. And then data type, ask, bid, last. I'll check all those just so I have it all. I hit download, and then I can export these to spreadsheets, whichever day I want, for the order flow. And then, so that will put it in a CSV file, and I can show you what that CSV file looks like when it exports. So this is quarterly. I essentially downloaded a whole quarter of data. And again, this is price only. This isn't the order flow data. I'll go over how I do it with the order flow later. But so this, you can see the format. It gives you the date. It gives you the time. It gives you the, let's see, is this, I don't know which one this is. I think this is just the final. So it'll give you open, high, low, close, and then volume on the end here. So that last number on there is the volume. So that's how I do it if I'm looking for price data. And this has, a little bit of volume, but if you want to dig deep into volume, you have to do it with, real order flow per price. So if I'm looking to get the order flow, what I actually do is I have, and this is what I was talking about earlier. What I did was I used AI to create a script that essentially downloads all of the data from here, because I have the order flow plus package on NinjaTrader. So it's printing all the volume that happens per price here, and it's printing these summary tables. So essentially what this, I coded a strategy to pull all the info. If it's printing it here on the chart, it has to essentially load that data. And so when it loads that data, after every minute candle, I'm exporting it, and it's happening in the background automatically. And I can show you what that looks like. Let me pull up the script and I'll show you. And again, this is going to be like, like overkill, but since people are asking, I want to show them. This is the code that's going on in the background. And essentially what this is doing is after every candle prints on the order flow, it'll update a CSV file on my hard drive. So it's automatically pulling data and then appending it to a file on my hard drive. so that after every minute it has new data. And then at the end of the day, it's done, and I can just show this, paste that into ChatGPT. Next
Wow.
question.
Next question. Let's see. Someone said ES will go back to 6839, and I'm not using AI.
Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, nobody has to use AI. Let's get that straight. You can be a successful trader without it. But if you're a trader that constantly wants to improve and you found yourself getting stale, I think it could really be helpful for you.
For sure. Uncle Sniffer, interesting name, said, Johnny is the most down-to-earth person y'all will ever meet. He will literally help anyone. Just hit him up. Yep, your
Thanks, man.
X
I appreciate
is
that.
in the description, by the way, guys. His X and YouTube are in the description, so feel free to
Yeah,
hit him up.
just for anybody looking to like, I stream live every day, and I stream on Twitch, and I stream on Kick. I stopped streaming on YouTube because if I had a song playing in the background that was copyright, they would ban me. And so I just decided I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not super concerned with growing as a streamer. I'm really just concerned with like gathering good people that are traders that they want to grow as traders. So I stopped using YouTube. Wasn't really doing me any good, and it was more annoying than not. So yeah, if you want to join for live streams, join on Twitch or Kick. And then yeah, my X profile, I'll post on there sometimes as well.
Cool. Somebody asks, have you thought about automating the workflow, like using N8N or other tools like that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I have used N8N before, and I think it's a really good idea to do that. Again, it's about automating repetitive tasks, and that's certainly a way that you can do that. So yeah, so you can certainly minimize some of the work that you're having to put into this stuff by using things like N8N. And if there are people out there that don't know what N8N is, it's a platform that allows you to pretty easily, let's say, connect different platforms, connect different tools, and to automate specific things. So let's say you wanted to download that sheet that I showed you, or you wanted it to generate that sheet every morning by itself. You could put it on a schedule to where it automatically uploads the data to ChatGPT. ChatGPT gives me the response, and then it could put that in an email, for instance, or put it in a Discord message, distribute it to everybody. So it's a good way to automate stuff, and it's a user-friendly platform. So yeah, the answer is yeah. I've definitely thought about that, and you can create ways to automate strategies and platform execution through N8N as well.
We have an interesting comment here. Darth Bubba says, you can use AI to do a lot of things, explain concepts, improve your routine, but the answer is only as good as your question.
Yes, I love that. I agree with that 100%. So you have to learn how to interact with AI so that you're going to get quality answers out of AI. I completely agree with that.
Cool. Let's do the giveaway.
Let's do it.
You ready to butcher some names?
Absolutely. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Alrighty. Here we go. So this is going to be for a $200 TFD credit.
Nice. Mehdi.
Good luck.
Alabridi.
Oh, that was pretty good. I think you
Yeah.
almost got it.
Okay. That's a nice wheel, by the way.
Yeah, it's a big wheel. A lot of names today. Thank you, everyone, for joining the stream. There you go.
Is it Dan? I want to say Daniel, but I'm going to say Daniel Ovcharov.
Sounds about right. Sorry if we butchered it, Daniel.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
All right, so those two were for TFT credit. Let's do one for a TFT hat.
All right. Andre Ratke. I think I got that one.
Awesome. Also, for the first time ever, anyone that entered the giveaway and previously has even won a credit, today you're going to get a free $20 credit. So check your email in a bit. Thank you for showing up. Really appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Are we wrapping up now?
We can just take the last few questions and get ready to wrap up. But
sounds good.
Yeah, we'll do another giveaway. I see a few people that were not able to enter. Next Wednesday around the same time, we're gonna do another stream with Johnny. So yeah, hop in. We'll do another giveaway. There's a few questions. What platform are you on?
Yeah, so my the platform I use a combination of two. I use the Futures Desk and I use NinjaTrader, and ideally I'm just copy trading from NinjaTrader to my Futures Desk account. So I use two.
Cool. Somebody said full TP or full liquidation. We ain't bitches. Interesting methodology. Not the one we preach here at the Futures Desk.
Yeah. Yep. That's funny.
What's your handle on Kick and Twitch?
Twitch? It's Trader Die X. So yeah, the same as the code that you see scrolling at the bottom, Trader Die X.
And do you have subs on Twitch?
Subs on Twitch. I don't Twitch a lot, or I don't know a lot about Twitch. I think maybe I have one sub from one of my users.
Cool. I think I'm gonna go give you my Twitch Prime sub.
Oh, nice. Sick. I'll have to look up. I'll have to ask AI what that is.
Twitch subscriptions. It's like $5 a month if you don't use a Twitch Prime, and then if you have Amazon Prime, you get like one free sub a month.
Cool.
And I think the creator gets like close to half of that.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Let's go.
Yeah. FOMC soon. Can AI tell us which direction of full port? Oh my God.
That's the exact kind of question you don't want to be asking because the intention is wrong. But yeah, the answer is I'm sure that was a sarcastic question. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and also that brings up a good point about hallucinations. You shouldn't use AI like it's like the word of God. You know, it's very often wrong. And if you've ever programmed with AI, or if you've ever done anything technical, you'll see just how stupid it could be sometimes. Like, it's a beautiful tool. It can give you a lot of insights, but don't just believe everything it says.
Exactly. And that's why it's really important for, especially anything technical like this, you want to have verified data that you're feeding it before it's giving you answers. You can't just say like, hey, give me the levels for tomorrow that I can use, because it's going to give you some BS levels.
Yeah.
And back to the person who asked about the FOMC, one thing you could do, you know, that's educational is just say, help me understand how news and FOMC can impact price. Like, not specifically today, but, you know, if we have a rate cut, what kind of things can I be looking for in price action beyond just when the news is released? So how does economic data impact price in the NASDAQ and the S&P and equities and crypto, so on and so forth? If you get curious about those kinds of things, ask it those kinds of questions, but don't ask it for a trigger for an entry on FOMC.
For sure. A few people are asking about the specs of your PC to continually run these processes. What kind of specs are you using?
Yeah, so my PC is not a beast by any means. I'm actually looking to upgrade here pretty soon, but I think the real root of the question is Can everybody use these sorts of things? And the answer is yes. So when this data is downloading once every candlestick, it's not using a lot of CPU resources or anything to do that. It's a super small CSV file that it's appending to. So it's not rewriting the file every time. It's only adding the new information. So the CPU usage for this process for the data aggregation is very, very minimal, like less than 1% of my CPU capacity. I know that because I asked it.
You asked it?
Yeah. I wanted to know how much that was going to impact my CPU usage. So
that makes sense.
Very, very small.
Yeah, for sure. It's just essentially writing a few lines of text. I mean, it's not doing much. And then when you're using tools like ChatGPT and stuff, you're obviously like running it on their servers, so you don't have to worry about that. I do have a gaming computer behind me, and I have thought about running some like more advanced models, but I think the convenience of just having ChatGPT like everywhere you go on the cloud is just too much, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, I guess the benefit of running your own model is you can take off limitations, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Do you have any finishing thoughts to wrap it up?
I don't think so. Like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to reach out about, getting set up. I think that a lot of people, when they use AI, are kind of one of two things. Like, one, they use it as like an everyday Google, which I think that, the capabilities of AI are so much far beyond just that it can help you in other ways that you might be able to anticipate. And then the other, subset of users that might not be using AI to its fullest extent might be intimidated by it, or might not understand the right questions to ask. So I think it's a really valuable tool that can help you. It's not going to take the place of you executing trades, but it can certainly help you improve. And that's what it's all about, right? Us as traders, just improving a little bit every day, and something that can give you a little more structure, a little more insight, a little more information is going to be a valuable tool that you can use as a sidekick.
Yep. And I just want to add to that, you don't have to use it to help you trade at all. You could just use it to help you prepare or help you debrief or help you look over your trades. It's really about you. You kind of have, it's like trading. You have to make it your own.
100%. Or you could use it you could take a picture of your food every day and have it calorie count for you if you want.
Yes.
There are a ton of ways that you can use it, but I use it primarily for trading, and I think it's really useful. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
See you next Wednesday at noon.
Sounds good. Stay safe out there.